They've arrived. Ah! Already made a bit of a boo-boo. Cheese, grommet.
Just thinking.
I'm going to get rinsed in the comments for this. What do we have here then? We have some Kingspan, or Celotex, whatever you want to call it. The third one's up there, just covering the solar panels at the moment because Dad's working on the electrics. But we've got 3 of those, and these ones are going to go on the side wall panels, the bits that are flat. And then we have this beast of a roll, which is that recycled plastic stuff. That's going to go in all of these little tubes. We have some of this glue, and we got told to go for the high heat one, because if you don't go for a high heat one, your van can sometimes get so hot it melts the glue and then all your insulation falls off. Quick tip. And then, oh, behind that, look, what do we have here? We have got a vapor barrier. So let's see how far we get today, shall we? What have we noticed, Dad?
Potential rattle.
Yes, big potential rattle. Same probably on this side. We just noticed there's a big gap and you can move that panel. So first job of the day, I'm just gonna seal that like we have done. I mean, Dad did, where are we? Dad did on here. I mean, if you remember that video, that's quite a while ago now, because this one was rattling and it wasn't sealed. So we're gonna do the same here, aren't we? Which took 2 minutes, and that meant I'm going to start with the Celotex on the back doors. First job, measure. 62 by 63. Even though I said I was going to do this at home, I'm glad I decided to come to the barn. It just gives us so much more room. So first I scored the Celotex with the end of the tape measure before using the Stanley knife to cut through it. And sometimes it didn't go all the way through and you just had to poke a little bit on the other side. 2 pieces cut. Now we've got to go shape them, see if they fit. So we just have to take these corners off for it to slot in. This stuff makes a horrible sound when you cut it, so it took some doing, but I got it shaped perfectly, and I just marked the top of it before using it as a template to copy for the other side. I then used Sikaflex in 5 points underneath it, 1 in each corner and 1 in the middle. And then I marked the top of them and repeated the process on the other side, as you can see here. The Sikaflex bonds the insulation to the van walls, but as it's going off and setting, we're going to tape the edges as well to make sure it stays in place and adds as an extra layer of protection. Next up were the top of the van doors, and I had to use the recycled plastic here because it was far too fiddly to get the Celotex in. And after that, I filled in the top one of these holes, and that was quite easy to do, didn't take any time at all. That's one side of the wall done on there. I gave up on the Kingspan because that's a little bit too frustrating and not very fun to do. So I've moved on to the bottle stuff, and I thought I would fill all the gaps first. It's easier, it's more fun, and then this stuff might be less frustrating for me. And Dad is doing an amazing job at working on the solar. I try not to intrude on Dad as he is setting up the solar into series as I finish the insulation on this top panel. Gotta do this bit next, at the back. Back done. This one has a lot more space. This took a lot more. Getting through it nicely. Other than being slightly fiddly, having to use the small holes to push the insulation through, this was a relatively easy and simple job. I just had to make sure that there were no air gaps in there before moving on to the Celotex on the walls. And you know what? My theory worked out because I was definitely more enthused to do these wall panels after making progress with the recycled bottled. And it took about 8 minutes a panel to do these. Remember those Auxbeam lights that got sent to me from America? Well, Dad has been fixing those while I've been doing the insulation, so he's going to show you now the magic that he's done with all the wiring and everything like that. Hey, Pops.
Hi.
Okay, here we are.
Right, so these are the lights. I've had to get longer bolts because we're actually going through here, not just through a single piece of metal. But I've got stainless steel ones so they don't rust, and we'll pop them on.
So we drilled through when we were doing the solar. That hole's already there, rust treated as usual. Dad's gonna fix the bolts on. Yeah.
The cool thing about these is they've got a recess on the bolt head, so we can tighten it up here and the bolt head doesn't spin.
Oh, very good.
So we'll put that in that position there, so that'll angle down there and light up the back. And then I've worked out where the wiring's going along here and tie wrapped it relatively tightly, but not fully in yet. And because we need to cut these wires, both of them from the front and the back, and put them through a shroud that takes them inside.
Like, there it is.
There it is.
Like we did for the solar panels, but that's hidden under there now.
We don't need a double one because the wires are nice and thin, and they'll both go through a single one, and we can seal it easier. And I'll just go and fit the front one, and then we'll come back later when I'm going to drill through the roof. Or Becca's going to drill through the roof, whoever wants to do it.
I'm insulating today. This is your job. I think they look really wonderful there, and I am so happy with them. So one of them we've chosen to go by the back door because at night time when I open this, my garage is there, so it just gives me a bit of light to work with. And the second one, we have decided to go up here, which is by my sliding door, my front door if you like. And Dad is going to be a genius and wire it in so that when I unlock my car, boom, the side light's going to come on for safety, just so I can see where the key is, things like that. And it's also going to be on a switch, so if I want to just have the lights on when I'm outside to light up what I'm doing, I can do. So just so many options, absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to see how bright they are.
So this is the second one, the front one, which hopefully I'm going to be able to wire it into the courtesy light for the rear van. These are controlled by a relay, so I'm going to have to control the relay rather than the lights, I think, but we'll get to that when we come to the wiring. And I will just tighten this one up. Okay, and we can adjust that later when we get the beam.
Awesome, thanks Dad.
Okay, carry on with your insulation.
I will.
Yeah, they look good.
They do look good.
Whistle now.
Yeah, it is lunchtime. He's just said we're going to see if they'll make a noise when we drive.
Yeah.
Now, you've probably noticed that the Auxbeam branding is upside down because we have used them for something that I suppose they're not really intended for, are they?
They do as a driving light.
Yeah,
and they should be mounted upright, and we've turned them upside
exactly.
down.
So
I'm not touching the bezel to turn it round because we might get a leak.
Yes.
And it's only writing.
Yeah, it's only writing, so it doesn't bother us, but I know what YouTube are like, and everyone will be in the comments, they're upside down. We know they're upside down. We've had to fit them that way for what we want and for our needs, but yeah, I'm just really excited to see them lit. They're probably going to blind us. But yeah, they're in. Great.
So this is all the wiring that comes with the Auxbeam lights. This is designed to go on the front of the vehicle. This is the relay that controls the lights via this switch. And I'm going to have to cut the wires now. So I've decided to go through there. So drill a hole in here, cut these wires, put them through, glue this down, and then I can connect them, extend them on the inside, put the switch and everything in the right way. And we will use the return of this switch, this one here, I'm guessing, is the on, and then we'll wire in the courtesy light to come on when this is switched off. That will supply power to pull that relay in to turn the lights on. So that's what I hope's going to work. We will see.
I'm sure you'll do a grand job.
So yeah, so I'm just going to put it there. I've measured downstairs.
Oh, that one fits perfectly on the top.
Yeah, that's right.
The bigger one we had that went under here was just slightly too wide for this, but that fits really well.
This will go great.
Yeah.
So we'll drill through.
You can drill through there. So the rest of this gap here, and probably a U shape round here, is all going to be decking. So we're going to bring all the decking round here and across here up to these lights. So this is actually going to be hidden underneath decking in the end as well. As long as you don't hit the beam. Oh yeah.
Well, we measured underneath for the beam.
You've measured underneath for the beam. We're not making that mistake again like we did with the skylight.
No, we're not. Ready?
Yeah. So you bought a pack of grommets?
Yes, because I didn't know what size. But that one there, I'm going to guess Yeah. So we'll cut these wires, one for each spotlight. They will go in here, like that. Now I've cut the wires, I've realised that this smaller grommet here will easily take them both. And that grommet, when we've painted it and deburred it, fits perfectly in that hole, so we'd have to increase the hole.
Here we have the grommet in place. Pops has rust treated it first. That looks a lot neater than the one we did on the other side, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we've got a proper grommet this time.
I know.
So I'll put these through.
Cheese grommet.
Just thinking.
Were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah. Right, so that'll sit there. These will get sorted out, and then we can get
So you've poked the wires through.
Silkaflex.
You're going to use the Silkaflex to... Do you want me to hold it while you do that, yeah?
Please.
To bead around the edge to make it watertight so no leaks come through the roof. If they do, they'll be in a kitchen cupboard. Weighted down, ready to dry. So professional. We just pulled these Auxbeam lights through a touch. Here is the grommet on the inside. Very neat indeed. Compared to our homemade one. Oh well. Here's what the Auxbeam lights look from on the top. This is the one at the back. And the wiring comes all the way down very, very neatly with these ties. Oh, ladder in the way. All the way down here. And the one from over there is on the other side of this bar, and they both meet in the middle where the rhino is. Across here and into that. So very neat. Thanks, Dad, well done. So one side is done minus the door. Dad's working on the door. So that side's done. I've done a couple in here. But I've had enough now, so I'll do the rest another day. Round 2 of insulation, here we come. I finished off the walls on the side of the van while Dad worked on the door, and because of the door mechanisms, some of the panels needed some give for these instruments to move, so we had to use recycled plastic in those bits. And the last piece is going on. That was quite good. So that's all of the Celotex Kingspan on. The bits I've not done are these columns, which will eventually get filled in with this recycled plastic stuff. However, Dad's next job, and I'm not touching that at all, is going to be the wiring. And he wants to use these columns to feed the wires through, if you like. So we've left those. And we could do the ceiling today, but I've ordered these sticky things, these like spikes that stick onto, so we can push the Celotex on and it'll stay. And they've not arrived yet. I think they're arriving tomorrow, so I might have to come back and finish that off tomorrow. And then the vapor barrier is not going to go on until after the wiring, is it, Dad? No. So the vapor barrier is not going to go on, but it already feels so much warmer in here. And it's quieter when I drive. And yeah, I think it's going to start feeling like an actual house now. They've arrived. This is what I was waiting for. Instructions of Greg Virgo. Order these metal spikes. They peel off the top, they're sticky. You stick them to the roof and then you put the insulation on, fasten it with one of these things, cut off the excess metal, and that's how the insulation stays on the roof. The Kingspan, Celotex, 25mm. That's what I'm doing today. I'm giving Dad the day off today. I'm here by myself and I have precisely 4 hours, and that is it. I'm not doing a second longer because today is the first Formula 1 race of the season. And not only that, Fernando Alonso is in P5 in an Aston Martin. So I am not staying here past a second after 2:45 because I'm getting home to watch the start of that race. The tools I have today are solvent spray to get rid of moisture, to spray on the metal before I put these on. I have a Stanley knife. I have some silver tape. Not much of that left. I have one of these to cut off the metal spikes. I've also brought homemade pizza from last night for my lunch. And I've brought my boombox with me so I can blast out music so loud as I go, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm feeling in a very dancey, excited mood because of the Formula One. So let's go, shall we?
While I've been doing the wall insulation, I had been storing pieces of offcut which perfectly fit this little section, so I did this first one with ease.
Already made a bit of a boo-boo because I didn't bring a tape measure up with me. So I'll have to be guesstimating. Anyway, first one in. Look at this. It's very, very easy. So easy. Clean them, stick them on, push the sellotapes on, push these fastenings on. So now I've got some spikes hanging down. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. I cannot tell you how warm it's been in here this last week while I've been driving, and this is without even the ceiling done. The ceiling, people laugh at me for that, the roof. Just with the walls, you could tell a huge difference when I was driving because the bulkhead's still out because we're still sort of playing around with that and letting that dry and stuff, but it's actually not been freezing cold in here, so I'm so excited to get the ceiling done. I think, like everybody keeps telling me, I'm going to be too warm rather than too cold in here, which I am fine with. On to the next ones. And I've got to do this without a tape measure, which is absolutely typical of me. Okay, what I decided to do was use a piece of wood as a ruler, and I'm scoring with a Stanley knife. So hopefully this will work.
I've ordered another sheet of Kingspan as well to do this roof, and the ruler with the wooden batten actually worked a treat, no problems at all.
Right, we're at a stage. As you can see, don't stand on it, Becca. Right, back one's done. These little fixings are really, really good. I've had to just jigsaw a few bits together around where the wires are for the solar panels to come down. I've left this bit just a gap at the moment. I'm gonna have to do the same here for the Auxbeam lights. So I've got this section and I've done part of this one, so I've got half of that. I've done this middle one, but then we've got the skylight one at the back, and I genuinely don't know if I have enough. I think I'm going to be really tight. That's all I've got left. I really don't think it's going to be enough. Yay! We'll have to see what we can do.
I tried to be very careful with where I was cutting the Celotex so I could utilise the space with what I had left to work with.
I've just caught myself.
Ooh! And I think I did an alright job. I managed to cover most of the panels with what I had left, but ultimately I ran out of big sheets.
I've done everything I think I can, and look at the bits I've got left over. Right, so these bits, I've got this gap left. This piece was quite handy. That fit perfectly with where the wires are, so I've put that in, and I'm just going to have to do a bit of a jigsaw to fill the rest of that in. I'm hoping I'll be able to do that. But annoyingly, I've just run out of tape as well, which is what I needed. But we're going to give this a go now.
And this is it, the moment of truth. Will I need to buy another board of Celotex or not? I mean, you can tell I'm pretty stubborn, can't you? I was determined to make this work.
Well, this is funny. I'm going to get rinsed in the comments for this, but I don't care, right? I'm not buying another sheet. This is my jigsaw work puzzle that I have done. And yes, there are lots of gaps, but I'm going to go get some more tape from Screwfix now to tape it all up. And there is going to be a vapor barrier, but that's what I've managed to do. To be fair, I'm quite chuffed with that. I know some people will probably tell me it's not going to be as good. Yeah, don't care, mate. This is how I've done it. It's very, very tightly packed in. So I'm going to get some tape from Screwfix now, finish that off. Oh, she needs a clean. Oof. Thank you. Well, well, you know you've done an all right job when you've just pushed those in. Like, a lot of those aren't even held up. They're just pushed in. Look at these. They've not got the fixings on. I've pushed them in, and I've just driven for like 10 miles and they haven't come out. So I want no words about my work. It's fine. It will be fine. I'm going to tape it and all will be well. Here we are. We're not too shabby, not too shabby. So this is the panel that I had to, you know, use as a jigsaw and kind of like fit pieces together, but it's still going to do the job, isn't it? I've taped it all up. La 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 la. I don't think that's bad at all. I don't think that's bad at all. So for these gaps here around the fan, I think what I might have to do is use some of this to fill in those gaps, because I'll be damned if I'm buying another enormous sheet of Kingspan just to do a couple of those. So I think that's what I'll have to do with those bits. And let me tell you, when I was driving, it's so warm in here. It's 4 degrees today. It's 4 degrees today, and I am not cold at all. I'm not even in a coat, and I'm not cold at all in here anymore. But the second you step out the back, brrr, it's chilly. So this definitely works. So we're done. I'm gonna go watch some Formula 1 now. Next is the wiring. That is gonna be a dad special episode because I don't have a clue what I'm doing with that, but he's gonna install all of that next. Thanks for keeping up with the progress. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. It's so warm in here.